Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I am continuing doing more Disney fan art. So I come from a family that loves Walt Disney World. They have a lot of the art that you can buy at the parks, the really expensive stuff in their houses, and I think that they will appreciate this. So these are some gifts I'm making for my family. Today I am making Goofy. He is a really fun character to draw, and I did sketch this out on the couch last night, but I used a few online tutorials. You can actually use, you can actually find Disney tutorials. So used to in the parks, they had the Animation Academy and you could go and learn to draw a Disney character. They still have all of the videos up online, and I just used that and a few images of Goofy to kind of get me back into the swing of drawing Goofy. I hadn't really drawn him since I was a kid. But I used some videos to kind of get back in the swing of how he's constructed, of like a small circle here, then you do your cross to find the center of the face, and then you work on the muzzle down here. So he's a really fun character, and then I drew this out on some cardstock. On the back, and as you see on the front, I have markings for how large my board is. On the back, I put some graphite down. This allows me to transfer Goofy onto the board that I'm going to be working on. So this is just a thinner piece of wood. My fiance cuts these down for me, which is super great. I love to paint on wood. I like that it's so smooth. It doesn't have a canvas texture. I find it really enjoyable to paint on. I did go ahead and outline this with Sharpie, and that's because sometimes when you're using pencil, the oil can kind of smudge it, and I wanted my lines to stay sharp for where Goofy is. I am going to be using a few different types of paint, and I have a bunch of different colors, but I'm going to be using Windsor and Newton oil colors, and I have a few small tubes of the Georgian water mixable oils by De La Rowney. So these say that they're water mixable, that you should be able to wash everything up with just water. These oil paints you need mineral spirits or some sort of paint thinner for. You can mix these together. They don't react oddly together. That's one of the benefits of if you wanted to try water mixable, you don't have to always stick with it. I like the Windsor and Newton oil colors because I find that even with the water mixable oil colors, I still needed to use paint thinner to get all of the paint out of my brushes. So I have a few of these large tubes, and I'll just be using a bunch of different colors. I'll have to mix for Goofy because I don't have an orange. I am also going to be using a bunch of different paintbrushes. These are just fairly cheap paintbrushes. These are, I think, the Artist Loft. I got these for Christmas from Michael's. They're not oil paintbrushes specifically. I don't have any oil paintbrushes specifically. They might hold up better than the ones I've been using. Oils I find to be really rough on your paintbrushes, so I go through them pretty quick. I have a few plastic palette knives. I like the plastic palette knives because they come in a pack. They're pretty cheap. They wash up really well. They're very flexible. I like it. And a palette that I swear is clean. It is just stained from previous oil paints. Alright, so I promise I didn't get started painting without you guys. The background colors that you see on there are just where I was mixing colors with a palette knife, and I didn't want to waste them, so I just cleaned them off since I'm going to make a pastel background out of them. But before I get to my background, I am doing kind of an underpainting. Traditionally in oils, underpainting is generally one color. I do a multicolor underpainting, and this just helps me because I'm using a very impressionistic style for this. And I'm going to be putting the paint on thickly in an impasto style, and this way, in case I miss a little bit, there's not going to be white showing through. It'll be a color, either the brown or green or black or whatever I'm putting down. So now I'm going to be working on the background, and I do my background majority with a palette knife. I really like this technique. It gives really interesting textures. I will have to go around the face a little bit with a paintbrush just to make it sharp. I like to do the background before I start working on the picture itself because I found that doing the background, especially with a palette knife, can be a little bit sloppy or messy, and I don't want to mess up the figure or, you know, what I've painted on Goofy while I'm trying to do the background. So if you've watched my other videos, this is probably the most colorful of backgrounds that I've made. I thought it went well with Goofy's personality. He's a little bit more crazy, a little bit more outgoing, and I also spent a lot longer on this background than I have on the others. I just wasn't happy with it, and I had to keep mixing and doing different things. But in the end, I think it really complements Goofy. Now, if you are not a crazy Disney fan, I first want to thank you for sticking with me through this series of Disney artworks. You are awesome, and I hope you're enjoying it. But you might be interested to know that Goofy first debuted in 1932 in Mickey's Revue, and he was originally called Dippy Dog. So they had some interesting names for some of the characters when they first came out. For instance, Mickey was originally going to be called Mortimer before Walt Disney's wife was like, I don't know about Mortimer, let's call him Mickey. And Goofy was originally a Dippy Dog. Another interesting thing that I read about Goofy is that his kind of iconic green hat is supposed to be a rumpled fedora. I don't really see a fedora when I look at Goofy's green hat, but that's interesting nonetheless. There are also 2 Goofy cartoon shorts that have been nominated for Oscars. They're called How to Play Football and Aquamania. So a cool thing, and one of my favorite places to eat at the Magic Kingdom is actually called Casey's Corner, and it's supposed to be like a sports-themed place to eat. It serves hot dogs mainly, but you can go into the room next to it and they show like Goofy sports shorts, and How to Play Football is one of those. It's really fun. You can sit on like bleachers and eat your hot dog. So, as with all of my other artworks in this series, when I put down a color such as the white of Goofy's eyes, like I'm working on right now, I don't just leave it white. Multiple colors would reflect off of light, and Goofy's got a crazy background going on. He's wearing an orange shirt and a green hat. So when you're looking at like a white on Goofy, like his teeth or his eyes, you might see little bits of orange or little bits of green. It would of course be like very pale, pastel looking. And I think just adding that in the black or in anything gives the character a lot more dimension. So I know it's hard to see in the black, but there's some purple and blue and orange in it. And I'm definitely going to be adding multiple colors in the green as well. Impressionism first came around with artists trying to paint very quickly and capture light as it was or as it is. So they would use multiple colors to portray a mood or a setting. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do, even though I'm not painting from life, because unfortunately Goofy couldn't come from the Magic Kingdom to Texas so I could paint him. So I just had to use a few pictures. This is the third I've painted in this series. And I like each one almost better than the last, but I can't choose a favorite. I'll have the videos that I've done linked down below. That way, if you're interested in watching them, you can go ahead and do that. But I'm really excited to get this whole series done. That way I can look at them all together, and I think they're just going to look really charming. So I'm very, very excited to see them. And these are, like I said, gifts for people that I love, and I hope that they like them. They are their favorite characters because I made sure that I asked them, like, who are your favorite characters? I was trying to be really sneaky about it, so I don't know if they've caught on, but hopefully they will like these. We're all going to Disney as a big group, so maybe they think it's for something else. I'm not really sure. But here is a close-up video where you can really see the paint textures. And look at the background. I love it. I love, love, love oil paint for this reason. I love that the paint goes on thick and it makes these really fascinating and interesting textures. And this is the reason I always encourage people to go to art museums if they're able and see their favorite pieces, because there's just something really cool about looking at them in real life, in person, because a lot of times you'll see these amazing textures from the paint, especially if they're using oil or acrylic, that really bring like an entire new dimension to the painting that you've never experienced before. So that's really fun if you have the opportunity to go to an art museum. And just, isn't it so cool? It looks so cool. Anyway, I'm really excited with how the textures on this turned out. But that is all for this video. I have a couple different views of this Goofy painting for you guys to enjoy. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I want to thank you for watching it. I'm really excited to be doing these because I think they have turned out really well so far. I hope you stick around to see a few more. I've already got one in the works, or I guess two in the works. If you're interested in seeing more of my art, consider subscribing to my page, giving me a thumbs up, something to let me know that you like it. I would really appreciate that. I do a lot of different types of art. I've been doing oil a lot more recently, but I also do watercolor, I do acrylic occasionally, I do printmaking, I even do crafts occasionally. If it's art related, it might show up here. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you guys have a fantastic day.